These Chiefs teams seemingly can win these close games, but they are like the cardiac Chiefs.
And the throw wide open for the touchdown, Drake London.
I left some plays out there, especially that touchdown that was on me.
We haven't played good.
Mahomes lost it. It's intercepted. Justin Simmons.
Especially offensively, and me, I haven't played very well.
When Mahomes came out after the game, too, he's basically saying, like, I'm not even playing good, and we're still beating the shit out of these teams.
His arm hit as he threw, and the floater's picked off by Ja'Marri Conner. It's Juju Smith-Schuster. Touchdown. Robinson. Stopped in the backfield by Bolton.
The Chiefs is still the Chiefs.
So after Mahomes struggled early on in this game, the Chiefs defense got it done in the end, and Atlanta forcing a turnover on downs that iced the game. However, KC was not without issues on both sides of the ball, and in this video, I'll break down this wild game, look at the biggest standouts as well as causes for concern regarding the Chiefs after they pulled off the W. But first, how about those? All right, to start out this Sunday Night Football matchup, Kirk Cousins had a play-action bootleg to Darnell Mooney, and this play confirmed to me the obvious yet effective, as we will see at the end of this, game plan for the Chiefs defense, in which they were basically selling out to stop the run at all costs, Bijan Robinson in particular. Well, considering he was held to just 1.9 yards per carry, I think the plan worked. 16 carries for 31 yards was some tough sledding for Bijan, though Tyler Algier was the more effective of the two with 7 carries for 32 yards, a 4.6 yards per carry average. KC's defense wasn't perfect though, as you can see here, as McDuffie slipped in coverage for another Mooney catch, followed by a couple more positive plays that set up a wide open touchdown to Drake London. And basically, what happened on this play is Nazeeh Johnson was supposed to follow London here, with Tranquil staying in coverage on Bijan. Well, Nazeeh simply tried to do too much and make a play. He said from what he saw on film, he felt a screen pass to Bijan was coming, and because of that, the result was a wide open touchdown. However, after the game, Nazeeh took complete accountability for that touchdown given up.
You know, I think today I didn't play as my best, especially that touchdown that was on me. I was trying to do way too much instead of just doing my job. But these guys rallied around me, you know, encouraged me and told me, hey, keep going. And, you know, I made a tackle for loss when the time was needed. And, you know, we just all here to support each other.
You love to see the accountability there by Nazeeh, but that left the Chiefs trailing by 7. KC's offense then took the field, and Mahomes seemed off, especially early on in this game. His first pass to Rice, for example, would have been an easy first down, but the throw was low and away. Sure, Rice could have caught it, but it was a tough grab to make, and Mahomes could have thrown a better ball. He was off on a target to Juju a couple plays later. Then Worthy turned into a defensive back a few plays after that in the end zone. And sadly, that wasn't the last off throw from Mahomes on this drive. But before I get there, back-to-back quick Worthy plays then helped set up a Carson Steele first down, and his rookie debut was honestly a pretty good one. He's not Pacheco, but he did a nice job, played clean football, and averaged 4.2 yards a carry on 17 attempts. That's 72 rushing yards in your rookie debut. Not bad at all. The biggest difference with Steele out there from what I noticed was he's definitely not a dual threat back in the pass game like Pacheco is, but hey, nobody expected Steele to come out there and completely fill the shoes of Pacheco, but he did a pretty damn good job, all things considered. That's also why Pirine was involved in a decent amount of snaps on offense himself, getting 6 carries for 25 yards and 3 receptions for 15 more. It was a bit of a committee between the two backs, with Steele getting the nod on early downs. Rice, if we get back to this drive, Rice then barely got enough for a first down on 4th and inches. That held up in spite of a challenge by Atlanta. And as you can see, the Chiefs matriculated the ball up the field on this drive, going 75 yards in 8 minutes and 21 seconds, and taking 17 plays to do so. All that effort, though, ended in an unfortunate interception, with Mahomes targeting Noah Gray in the end zone, and former Broncos safety Justin Simmons picking him off for the 6th time in his career. I hate that man, but respect him a lot. And yeah, Mahomes had pressure via a free runner on a blitz that Carson Steele, I believe, should have picked up, but you can't make that throw there. Andy Reid said in his presser today that it was a touchdown pass if the protection wasn't missed. Mahomes did confirm post-game last night that there was miscommunication on the cover 0 blitz pickup, but in spite of that, he can't force throws like that. Quote, "Those are mistakes you can't make like that in the red zone." George Karlaftis then plowed into Bijan for a loss. Nick Bolton slammed down Darnell Mooney, and shout out to Nick Bolton, who had his best game of the season by far, making multiple great plays. one you'll see at the very end. That was crucial, and the defense on this first quarter drive held strong on third down to force a punt, and this time, KC would not be denied, with Rashee Rice spamming the spin move button on multiple plays. P. Ryan got involved on this drive as well with nice back-to-back runs. Justin Watson was a safety valve for Mahomes on 3rd and 8 to move the chains, and then on play 13 of the drive, Mahomes hit Rice for a touchdown on an out route to tie the game up at 7 apiece. Rice was cooking Rice. He looked very good in this game, and things looked good for KC's defense on ATL's next drive, but a soft roughing the passer penalty on Chris Jones turned what would have been a 4th and 6 into a first down, a play that Chris Jones was definitely pissed off by. Kirk Cousins then took advantage of this, exploiting a definite weakness of the Chiefs' defense by setting up a big play to tight end Kyle Pitts that went for 50 yards. Justin Reed was trailing in coverage, which was tough, but Kirk Cousins had a clean pocket with Bijan picking up a Nick Bolton blitz. And when you give Kirk time in the pocket, he's very good at going through his reads and made a big play there. The Chiefs have given up over 300 yards, I believe, now to tight ends so far through 3 games, and I expect every opponent moving forward will try to get their tight ends involved. A Bijan touchdown then made this 14-7. Chiefs trailing by a score, and while KC was once again able to move the ball down the field, with Rashee Rice and Carson Steele staying busy, they were held short and kicked a 53-yard field goal on 4th and 1 to make it 10-14. Well, this wasn't on my bingo card, but Felix and Udike Uzama then leveled Kirk Cousins to force a fumble, though Bijan smartly kicked the ball out of bounds to prevent a Chief from snagging that fumble. Kirk bobbled the next snap, and even though Bijan scooped it up, ATL had to punt, which gave KC an opportunity to get more points before half, which is great because they also got the ball to start the third quarter. Some very scary plays, though, happened, a near sack and a near INT, and that resulted in an Ariza punt. But thank God for Turk Wharton because he hit Cousins on this play just 2 plays later as he threw the ball, and safety Chamari Connor came up with his second turnover in 2 weeks, handing the ball off to Jalen Watson for some additional yards that helped set up a Harrison Butker field goal, another one before halftime. This made things a 1-point game, 13-14. Travis Kelce finally got a bit involved on the first play with he and Rice trading nice catches to get KC into the red zone. This red zone trip, though, was a bit frustrating as multiple plays inside the 3-yard line could not finish across the goal line after Mahomes was chased down by Judon on 3rd down and he opted to throw it away. They tried to run a corn dog style play here with Worthy on the left side, but it did not work out at all. This led to yet another Butker field goal to make it 16-14. But I'm not going to lie, guys, the Chiefs' red zone offense is still way below average in the NFL and way below the standard. KC was second best at scoring touchdowns in the red zone back in 2022, scoring a touchdown within the 20-yard line like 71% of the time, but dropped to 19th last season and currently are tied for 21st with the Falcons actually through 3 games, only scoring a touchdown 44% of the time in the red zone. It's still early, and I'm not panicking or anything like that, but there are going to be times where 7 is needed instead of 3, and the red zone woes have got to get figured out here. The Chiefs' defense held strong again, though, getting to Cousins on 3rd down, and KC once again led a very long, calculated drive, converting a 3rd and 1, and then this huge play to Rashee Rice was saved by Carson Steele, doing just enough in pass protection to help set up a 27-yard completion. Mahomes then used his legs to scramble down the middle for an easy 15, and multiple short yardage plays brought KC to the 10-yard line. Things got a bit dicey on 2nd and 4, though, when Rashee Rice caught a bubble screen and got popped by A.J. Terrell. He then stayed on the ground in obvious pain, and although he eventually got up, this was a scary sight to see for a couple of reasons. Hollywood Brown, for example, is already out for the season, or at least most of it. Then Isaiah Pacheco is out for a couple months or so due to getting that surgery on his fractured fibula, and Rice, with them being out, is truly the main playmaker on offense, with Travis Kelce being double and triple covered almost every single play. If Rice goes down, that makes the wide receiver room pretty shaky from a playmaker standpoint. However, with Rice on the sideline, Juju Smith-Schuster then filled in for Rice on the very next play, lining up in the slot right side, and Mahomes went back to his wide receiver 1 of the 2022 season for an incredible touchdown on 3rd down and 7, making the score 22-16. Juju is heating up at just the right time. He had like 40-something snaps last night, and I'm glad KC went to get him immediately after Hollywood Brown got injured. And before I get into the rest of this game recap, I wanted to share a couple of quick ways you can support the channel. You can grab some HBTC coffee of Benchwarmer Brew, a smooth medium roast with origins of Mexico and Ethiopia, and then you got some new HBTC merch. There's a Worthy shirt, Dad Bod season shirt, and much more incoming. But again, this is a couple of ways you can support the channel, so let's freaking go. Then after a missed extra point, that kept things to an 8-point game, so a 1-score game, and Atlanta's next drive brought us into the fourth quarter after a 17-yard screen to Bijan Robinson. Spags started sending different players on almost every play after this because you had multiple linemen from the Atlanta Falcons banged up. I believe both their right tackle and their center had to leave at some point due to injuries, and Spags was just teeing off. Tranquil nearly got home on this play, a play that Nick Bolton seemed to hurt his lower back on. He didn't leave on this play, but it was a concern for sure given Bolton's inability to stay healthy. It's not his fault, but you hate to see another potential injury there for Bolton, who had himself a monster game last night. He did manage to finish the game, as did Rice, who I forgot to mention came back in eventually after being shaken up on that previous drive. But a lower back injury or tweak of any kind is definitely less than ideal. I'll talk more about that here in a bit. But everybody then got to Cousins on the next play, and Koo drilled a 54-yarder to make this a 5-point game. The Chiefs offense then marched down the field to make it a 2-score game. No, sorry, they actually did not do that. They went 3 and out after Kelce couldn't hang on to this pass on 3rd and 2. Jesse Bates did make a great play on the ball, and I want you to watch this punt closely because, yeah, you would like to see Kelce hold on to the ball, right? Move the chains and all that. But this was almost a disastrous snap from James Winchester. Matt Araiza kind of, potentially saved the game with this one play. The snap went way over his head, and not only did he leap up and high point the snap, but stayed calm enough to punt the ball inside the 10-yard line. What a freaking dog. The returner almost fumbled the ball, which would have been a wild turn of events, but he was ruled down on contact. Either way, if Araiza doesn't catch that punt, that's a huge error on special teams, and the Falcons would get the ball either deep inside Chiefs territory, or they could have potentially housed that fumble for a touchdown on that play. So this one play by Araiza was so crucial, with the proof being on this following drive, with the Falcons having to drive the field. They did slowly march down it on a long 15-play drive, with McLeod getting 20 yards up the left sideline. Maybe a face mask there. I don't know. It was under, kind of like hit the bottom of his helmet. If they wanted to flag it, okay. I saw people crying about that online, and they were crying about a bunch of other stuff per usual. That's what losers do. Meanwhile, winners find a way to win, but I digress. Nick Bolton got injured on this 2nd and 8 play shortly after that Ray McLeod move up the left sideline, and he actually needed to come off the field. Andy Reid said he got the wind knocked out of him, but Bolton said after the game that it was his lower back, somewhere between his hip and his back, and he will get it worked out this week as they get ready for the Week 4 matchup against the Chargers, but it's something worth noting. And he ended up coming back in a bit later on that drive. Thank God he did, because he was pivotal to help KC win this game. We'll get to that in a second, but Justin Reed made an incredible play on Darnell Mooney on this 1st down. You'll love to see that. However, Kirk Cousins got the better of Justin Reed a couple plays later on a hard count. He went off sides, and that made things a more manageable 3rd and 3. They ended up going for it on 4th and 2, converting to Drake London with Justin Reed once again in coverage. A tough series, a little up and down series rather for Justin Reed, all things considered. And with 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line, this was a pivotal time for the Chiefs defense. Kirk targeted Kyle Pitts on 3rd and 5 with Brian Cook tight in coverage, the crowd booing, and the broadcast wanting a flag for pass interference. And honestly, I would have been totally fine with the flag here. He was early. He didn't turn back and look for the ball. No dice, though. The Chiefs bought and paid for the refs. I mean, that's what everybody whines and cries about. And ATL opted to go for it after the no call on 4th and 5 with 4 minutes to go, and pressure forced Cousins to get rid of it, and a turnover on downs was the result. KC's offense then had the opportunity to ice the game, being up by 5, but needed a few first downs in order to accomplish this. Well, sadly, they couldn't even get one first down. There was a miscommunication on 3rd and 2 with, I believe, Rashee Rice running the wrong angle on his route that caused Worthy to pull up and try to keep space from Rice, and Mahomes anticipated Worthy to keep going. That's why it was incomplete, and an awkward looking play altogether. Andy Reid confirmed during his presser today, said there was a missed route with it not being on Worthy, but his compadre. I took that to mean it was Rice's fault, but I guess it could have been whoever was running the other direction. I can't remember off the top of my head who that was, but either way, it was a miscue, and you needed a first down there to not put pressure immediately back on the defense. Sadly, that's what ended up happening with Atlanta getting the ball back, 2.5 minutes to go in the game, and still having all 3 timeouts. Well, I think the refs felt bad for not calling that Brian Cook penalty because there was some wild stuff that happened on this drive. An incredible McDuffie PBU was negated by illegal use of hands on Shamari Connor. That was either called on the wrong guy or this was their attempt to make up the call for not flagging Brian Cook in the end zone for PI. They again tried with another flag, a phantom pass interference call on Trent McDuffie after Ray McLeod ran right into him. That was 2 phantom calls in 3 plays. That shouldn't have been called. However, a flag that should have been called was the horse collar tackle on Jalen Watson, and that had the Falcons up to near the 20-yard line. Nazeeh Johnson, though, made an incredible play on Darnell Mooney, preventing this bubble screen from going anywhere at all. Shamari Connor missed his tackle on Drake London, and this made this 3rd and 1, and this is where things get very interesting. 3rd and 1, Casey's defense stopped Algier to make it 4th and inches. From there, ATL went for it with the game on the line. It's do or die time. You're down by 5. And I believe the original play call was a QB sneak. Well, based on what Kirk Cousins saw formation-wise by Casey's defense, he audibled to an outside run. Well, Leo Chanel then partially blew the route up, and Nick Bolton split the gap to tackle Bijan for a loss, and the result was yet another turnover on downs. And just when you thought things would be an easy ending for KC, with the offense just needing to kneel it down a few times, Mahomes slid down awkwardly on 2nd down and hopped up, kind of shaking out his left knee. I don't think there's anything serious going on here, but I freaking hate turf, and that scared me more than it needed to. Mahomes said after the game that the turf got him, but he's fine, and the only reason why he was running around back there a bit, he was taking seconds off the clock to allow for that last kneel down to properly ice the game. The play clock is at 40 seconds, so you needed the game clock at 39. That is what happened. Mission accomplished. KC won an ugly one against Atlanta. Hats off to Atlanta. And Kirk Cousins, I have nothing but respect for them. They are really trying to turn that organization around. It was an ugly win, yes, but a win is a win, and the Chiefs are only one of 4 teams that are 3-0, with those being the Seahawks, Steelers, and Vikings as well. The Bills are 2-0 as of when I recorded this video heading into Monday Night Football for what it's worth, but all in all, yeah, KC won, but they are still working through things, even though they are 3-0 after playing the Ravens, Bengals, and Falcons, so I am definitely happy about the win. If you would have told me, hey, they're going to be 3-0, even though Mahomes has thrown 4 interceptions to only 5 touchdowns, and he looks shaky out there, Kingsley would be struggling so bad that he is getting benched. They're giving up hundreds of yards to tight ends on defense, and you do have some injury struggles there with Pacheco being out for 2 months, among other things. If you would have told me that at the start of the season, but you would have said they still won all 3 of these games, I'm not sure I would have believed you, yet here we are. Do they have stuff to clean up? Yes, but am I extremely concerned? Not yet. They have some red zone issues to work through. They were only 6 of 13 on 3rd downs, but they dominated the time of possession and were a red zone INT away from possibly winning this game by more than 1 score. For whatever reason, the Chiefs just love to keep it very close and give all of Chiefs Kingdom heart attacks. I am hopeful that Mahomes settles down again back there. I think it's a bit more mental. Maybe he shook up from week 2 and Trey Hendrickson getting to him so often after Kingsley Suamataia really struggled, and that would be helped, his mental, by more consistent protection from his tackles. Wanye Morris actually started over Kingsley Suamataia. He had a decent game. I didn't see anything crazy. He gave up a couple of tough reps, but they weren't playing against somebody like Trey Hendrickson. I mean, much respect to Matthew Judon, but he is not Trey Hendrickson. Andy Reid said today during his presser that they're actually going to continue with that rotation for now. So it seems like Wanye Morris will remain the starter and Kingsley Suamataia will be worked in as needed. Something else worth mentioning is that Travis Kelce has remained quiet from a production standpoint. It's really a low production for Kelce considering him being healthy and being out there. But Andy Reid said teams are working hard to take Kelce out of the picture. And with them doing that, Rice is getting a lot of attention from Mahomes. They leveled off Kelce in the second half, though, talking about Atlanta's defense, and that's when Kelce started to get a bit more involved. Mahomes said there are plays called for Kelce, but he's been doubled or tripled on a lot of plays, and that's forced Mahomes to look elsewhere. He's been open on some plays, and Mahomes hasn't seen him as well, so it's a combination of stuff. Mahomes doesn't see him, and when he doesn't see him, he's getting open, or when Mahomes does look to him, he's doubled or tripled, and then it opens up stuff in the middle of the field for other people, particularly Rashee Rice. I'm not panicking about this either after just 3 weeks. I don't think Kelce is completely washed or anything like that. I talked about it more in Friday's video. However, Rice is the freaking man, catching 12 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown last night, the definite bright spot of the offense. He is second in the NFL in receiving yards, 288 receiving yards, only behind Nico Collins, and is first in the entire NFL in receptions with 24. Then on defense, they did a great job holding Atlanta to just 17 points. They have a lot of playmakers on that side of the ball. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Kirk Cousins is a pretty good quarterback as well. They weren't perfect. I get it. They still got to work on coverage against tight ends, but they have done a great job stopping the run all 3 weeks of the season so far. They've held Derrick Henry, Zach Moss, and Bijan Robinson to just 111 yards on 51 carries, which is a thing of beauty. They've held some solid opponents to an average of just 20.7 points per game as well, and have played crucial roles in the Chiefs still remaining undefeated. This was a defensive team last season, and so far, the offense, they do look better, but they've had to rely on the defense to make final stands at the end of games in week 1 as well as week 3. Hopefully, Nick Bolton's injury isn't too serious. Same with Rashee Rice. We'll find out this week when we look at the injury report and see if they are not participating, are limited, or how that progresses. However, it's worth noting their next opponent in the Chargers are very banged up already. Justin Herbert with the ankle, Bosa, Rashawn Slater, among others. Joe Alt, their right tackle. There's a lot of players with the Chargers banged up as well. I'll dive more into the week 4 matchup later this week. I just hope the Chiefs can get healthy because it's still very early on in the season. For now, you guys have to let me know your thoughts on this game, your biggest concerns from what you saw, as well as your biggest takeaways and standouts. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?